What if I told you that one of the greatest partnerships in all of history, a philosopher and a student, a kid who would go on to conquer the known world, what if I told you they held the key to one of our biggest modern challenges, how to actually live a good life? Well, let's dive in and see how their ancient wisdom can be a blueprint for us today.
So here's where we're headed. We're going to start with the philosopher and his very famous student. Then we'll see that wisdom in action out in the real world. From there, we'll jump to today and introduce a modern coaching framework built on these ancient ideas. We'll break down its 4 core pillars, and then we'll wrap up by looking at exactly who this is for and how it can help you guide others.
All right, so our story kicks off with King Philip of Macedon. He hires the one and only Aristotle for a very, very important job, to teach his son. But this wasn't just any tutoring gig. The student was a young Alexander, a boy with an ambition so massive it could either build the greatest empire the world had ever seen or burn it all to the ground.
And this is the absolute key. This wasn't about teaching Alexander how to win battles or manage supply lines. It was about shaping his character. Aristotle's real mission was to take that incredible, world-changing ambition and temper it with something even more powerful: wisdom. He had to make sure this future conqueror didn't end up a monster.
And the core concept he taught him was this: phronesis. We translate it as practical wisdom. Now, this isn't about just knowing the right thing to do in a textbook. It's the real-world skill of figuring it out in the messy, gray areas of life. It's knowing when to be brave versus when to be cautious, or when honesty might need to be balanced with compassion. It's about navigating those tough calls. So, the big question is, did it actually work? Did all those philosophy lessons stick when the rubber met the road? Well, let's take a look at how this practical wisdom actually played out as Alexander began building one of the largest empires in history. And what's so fascinating is that these defining moments weren't just about military might. Founding Alexandria, that was about creating a lighthouse for knowledge and culture that would last for centuries. And the marriages? Those were brilliant political moves, sure, but they were also profound statements about integration, about weaving cultures together instead of just dominating them. And you can see this thinking everywhere. He didn't just roll in and demand everyone become Greek. No, he started wearing Persian clothes, which totally shocked his own generals, but showed incredible respect to the people he now ruled. In Egypt, he wasn't seen as a conqueror, but as a liberator because he honored their gods and restored their temples. He even created a hybrid god, Serapis, to give these diverse peoples something to unite around. This is what practical wisdom looks like in action. And that brings us right here to the present day. Because while the world looks a lot different, human nature really doesn't. The challenge of guiding ambitious people, of making tough ethical calls, of helping others to truly flourish, that's more relevant than ever, especially for those of you who are educators, therapists, and leaders.
So it kind of begs the question, right? If Aristotle, with his incredible mind and his understanding of ethics, politics, biology, you name it, if he were dropped into our world today, what would he even be? A philosopher? A scientist? The truth is, he'd probably be all those things. He would be completely frustrated by our rigid little boxes. This is philosophy, this is psychology, this is education, because he knew that helping a person flourish is a holistic project. And because this focus was always on helping people live well in the real world, you could make a very strong case that his modern home would be as a coaching psychologist. And that leads us right here to practical wisdom coaching. It's a framework designed to take Aristotle's timeless insights about character, virtue, and living a good life, and to structure them into a practical, usable methodology for those of us doing this work today.
So, you might be asking, how is this different from regular coaching? Well, a lot of traditional coaching is focused on hitting goals, right? Getting that promotion, feeling better. Practical wisdom coaching goes deeper. It's not just about success as an outcome. It's about virtue as a process. It focuses on developing moral character, so you don't just achieve your goal, you become a better person along the way. The ethics are baked right into the system.
Okay, so what does this actually look like when you put it into practice? The whole framework is built on 4 core pillars, pulled directly from Aristotle's ethics.
These are the 4 pillars: the golden mean, which is all about balance; practical wisdom, the skill of making the right call; tragic flaws, which is about honestly working with who we are; and finally, Aristotelian friendship, which recognizes we can't do this alone. Let's just unpack those a little. First up, the golden mean. Now, this isn't just a cliche about everything in moderation.
It's about finding the sweet spot for any virtue between two extremes. For example, courage is the perfect midpoint between the excess of recklessness and the deficiency of cowardice. Then you have the third pillar, tragic flaws. This is about radical honesty. It admits we all have deep-seated traits, maybe a quick temper, maybe a streak of anxiety that we probably can't change. The goal isn't to magically erase them, but to manage them wisely so they don't derail our lives.
The second pillar is practical wisdom itself. That's the meta-virtue. I love this analogy. If all your other virtues, like honesty and loyalty and compassion, are the instruments in an orchestra, then practical wisdom is the conductor. It's the thing that knows which instrument to bring in and when, to create beautiful music instead of chaos. And of course, you can't do this in a vacuum, which brings us to the fourth pillar, Aristotelian friendship. This is so important. Flourishing isn't a solo sport. These friendships are built on mutual respect and a shared goal of becoming better people.
So, when you put this entire four-pillar framework together, who is it really for? Well, simply put, it's for anyone whose job it is to guide other human beings. And that puts educators and psychologists right at the heart of it. Let's get specific. If you're a coach, this helps you move the conversation beyond just hitting KPIs and toward building a truly meaningful life. If you're a therapist, it gives you a clear language and framework to bring ethics and character development into your practice. For leaders, this is a blueprint for building a culture where people don't just work, they thrive. And for educators, this is so critical. It gives you the tools to help shape not just smart students, but good human beings. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to this. The job of any ethical practitioner isn't just to help people get what they want. It's to help them want what is genuinely good for themselves and for the people around them. And that really leaves us with the essential question, doesn't it? In our complex world, full of powerful ambitions and tricky choices, how can we, as guides, as teachers, as mentors, help steer people toward a life of genuine flourishing? This ancient blueprint, it turns out, gives us a very powerful place to start looking for answers.